So, let's do a no nostalgia take on the Snake Lair. So weird phrasing when I really stop and think about it. So, before we even get into this, if you're just discovering this channel, I do not have a nostalgia towards Motu. I am a huge Motu fan. Huge. I have seen almost all of it. I have read practically everything. I own a ridiculous amount of stuff. And I'm very intertwined in a lot of the communities. I like to talk to a lot of people. I like to see the photography projects and things like that. I like Motu a lot. But I have no nostalgia in this game. I got into Motu late. And I mean late. Like, I have a video on here talking about right when I got into it. And you can check that out and see just where I'm coming from, why I was not a fan when I was a kid, what got me into it, and why I'm so interested in the property, even though I was not here when I was a kid. I discovered it technically as an adult. But I have a long-standing history with the material. Look, the Snake Lair, it happened, okay? It happened. We seen it, and a lot of people are unhappy with it. So let's start first off by going and checking that out. So look, I'm over here on ToyArk, okay? And I figured this would be, I just needed the pictures. That's really why we're here. But this is the SDCC 2024 Masters of the Origins, Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Lair official teaser and info. Wow, I have no idea why that was so difficult to get out, but it was. But look, I just want to click on the images here. This is what we were going to get. Maybe it'd be fair to start here. This is what we were shown, okay? We were shown this first. When everybody was given the chance to vote, it was said, hey, guys, there's a couple of options here. What are you guys thinking? And Snake Lair won the vote, regardless of any of the conspiracy theories that some people have thrown around, that some people believe that, well, this was already built way beforehand. They knew it. They wanted to make us feel like we were part of what was going on. So they said, hey, guys, go ahead and vote. I want to put a small bit onto that one real quick. First off, I voted Snake Lair. And a lot of the people that I was talking to voted Snake Lair. Specifically, I heard certain people saying that, well, the Fright Zone would be cool. If we vote Fright Zone, there's a very real possibility that they give us the old playset, and we already know that's coming. I heard people specifically saying that they already know we're going to get one anyway. Why waste their vote? I remember hearing that specifically. I voted for this. I'm not going to claim to be in the majority all the time, but I did vote for it. That makes me at least feel like people out there were specifically voting for this, and there we go. A second piece of information I'd like to put out. First piece of information was I voted for this. I feel like people voted for this. I really don't feel like it was fixed. The second reason that I feel like it wasn't fixed is because, guys, look at that. Look at that right there. It's that. See it? We're looking right at it, guys. This right here is what they gave us as a picture, as a reference to what it's probably going to be. If it was ever released, this is what it would be. This is the idea. Clamshell, very much like the original Motu's stuff. So we're looking at Snake Mountain comparison. We're looking at Castle Grayskull comparison. It looks like it fits that criteria. Okay. But this is concept art. And you can say, well, Bill, because this is also kind of one of my arguments, if it's concept art, this was just a concept of what it might be. Two problems here. One, if you believe that, why would you ever believe for an instance that we were going to get that? If that is a concept and that's all it is, and we're arguing on that point, then we were never going to get that in the first place. You were still voting that Snake Lair, they should have just not been a picture at all, and you could have just imagined it. Second, if the conspiracy is true and they'd already basically made this thing and this was just for show to say, hey guys, what would you like? And then everybody votes, and then regardless of what wins, you tamper the actual results and you say, hey guys, Snake Lair won. Why would you set yourself up for the kind of backlash that they're facing right now and make that right there your concept art? The art that you release saying, guys, there's going to be a Snake Lair. Why would you do that? That logically makes no sense. You would create something at least mildly comparable to what we are seeing right here. There is no way that you would set yourself up for that kind of a kick in the face. Because looking at this, it is not the same thing, and that's what a lot of people are complaining about. They're saying there's no way this is not this. And I get it, because they're like, they made it way too big and blah, 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 and it's not the same thing that we were promised, and that backlash wouldn't exist if they would have said something like, this is going to be like a folding thing, 3-tier, blah, 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 this and that, we're kind of thinking about this. They'd have just basically set this to this and sent it, and we'd have voted on this, and then the backlash wouldn't have happened. Realistically, that would be the best idea. You would not purposely create a ridiculous amount of backlash for yourself. You wouldn't do it. So that makes me feel like this was not fixed. This happened. Okay? This was a concept art. It won. When they went to produce it, maybe you could say they got overzealous, and we ended up with this, which is not what anybody expected it was going to be. We got this. Like, and I get it, this is a lot, but it does fit certain criteria. First off, I'm loving the torches idea. I actually think that's really cool. I like this cool Motu-esque property right here where they got the thing that plugs into the door. I like the chains on the door, the fact that you can't just get right in it. I like the weapons rack. I kind of like this right here where you've got the areas where people can stand and kind of fight and everything. I like the big snake, the articulated snake. I actually like that quite a bit. I like this tower here. That's pretty cool. I love this face part right here because Motu has this thing going on. The Snake Lair has a big snake thing on it. Snake Mountain is a mountain that then has the snake on it. Castle Grayskull is a gray skull. Eternia has the lion. I actually like that. I think it fits the motif idea. I don't mind this extra pillar area that's been added with the snake that comes off and kind of comes around. Maybe this could be a little more articulated. It looks a little cheap. I don't mind the cannon. That very much fits the Motu aspect. I don't mind this vehicle that's very much a vehicle that was going to come out that then never came out. I don't hate this, and I like how it's integrated into the castle. Arguably more integrated in a better way than what we've seen some of the other things integrated, like, say, Point Dread, which I talked about Point Dread. Point Dread in Origins is a disappointment. There are things about it that are disappointing, and that video will be up. You could check it out in the annotations if you want to hear my talk on that. So, yeah. And then next, the inside. I'm actually digging the inside. I like this. I think this is real cool. I like this, like, I don't know if it's lava or it could just straight up be blood if it's left up to your imagination in general. I love this Queen Lady Slither thing going on back here. This is really cool. I like the throne where you could put, and by the way, that is the stone throne that I actually liked quite a bit that I saw. I like this. This is cool. I like these pillars here. That's cool. I like the weapons rack for what it's worth. I like that this side is technology, because that's very much a Motu thing. I like that when we come over here, we're getting much more medieval. So we got like a castle that is just starting to integrate technology. I like that there's like a crazy literal torture dungeon here. Like this is, I like this. I like the ladder that actually makes sense for the kind of Motu property that we're looking at. I like that once the drawbridge goes down, they still got this gate thing here. Like, I like a lot of this. I like a lot of this. And I don't know that necessarily the backlash was warranted. So look, here's the thing. Feeling like you were lied to is one thing. And you could argue that you were very blatantly lied to. I'm not going to sit here and say 100%, but I gave you my opinion on it. I really don't think this was fixed. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I really honestly do not. But the way you feel is the way you feel. Okay? Period. Now look. I had somebody say to me, and he's not the only person, but I did have somebody say to me that they wanted to hear my opinion on this because I would be coming from a place of no nostalgia. Where some other people have been coming from a place of pure nostalgia. They grew up in the line. They know what they expect. Here's the interesting thing. The Snake Lair never happened. Just like Eternia, technically, like the palace, Eternos, never happened. These are things that never existed. The playsets have never existed. So it's all 100% new material. There was no Snake Lair playset. There wasn't one in the 2000X line. There wasn't one in the original 80s line. There isn't one now. As far as my knowledge, we've never seen a Snake Lair. Because even in the 2000X, didn't they just take over Snake Mountain? So, like, we've never seen this, except for arguably maybe there's comic book reference here and there. So, like, there is zero nostalgia to play, except for you think the line should be a certain way, and you don't want to pay $300+ for a new Motu item. That is arguably okay as well, especially because all of a sudden we were about to get a Snake's Lair that was almost the size of Eternia. That's a lot to ask, especially right now when realistically money is getting tighter and tighter and tighter by the year. And then there's also the argument that if they kept this a certain size, it could have went retail. But, arguing against that as well, this item, the very fact that it's going on Mattel Creations, the very fact that this is an item that is going crowdfunding, means we were never going to see this go retail. It is not meant for that by the very concept of its design. The very beginning, before they ever put pen to paper, they knew this was never going to be a retail item. They decided that on purpose before they ever stepped into it. Then the concepts started rolling in. And they got a couple of ideas for a couple of different things. And they put these things on the wall and they said, if we got another crowdfunding, because the last one went very, very well, so the company wants to try another one, we have got the go-ahead. There's a couple of ideas here. Let's put it to a vote. Get the fans involved. Once the fans are involved, they can be part of the process. Then we know, before we ever launch, before we ever even start concept beyond this point, we know everybody's on board. They put it out. The votes came in. Snake Lair won. They go to the ground with Snake Lair and they say, start its development. And they say, okay, Right now, we've got this picture right here. This looks pretty good, but I got this idea. If these people come into the future and we're having a 100% war between all the factions, right? And we want a Snake Lair to go in here, it wouldn't look like the old Snake Lair. It would be, this comes forward in time, what does it look like now? And then they run with this idea. Somebody at the table proposed it. Somebody said, that's a good idea because then we'll get the technology side of it and everything like that. We'll get to play around with it. Let's do that. They run with it. Bam, they're off to the races. They make this item. We see this item. There's a huge backlash, and a lot of people that answered that poll said no. They said, we will not be buying this. And for what it's worth, Mattel listened. Mattel listened and said, ooh, we showcased this thing and there's an awful lot of backlash on it. People don't want this. But I gotta be honest here. I seen it and thought it was kind of cool. I really did. Like, I'm not seeing the issues that a lot of other people are seeing. And maybe you could say, you know, there's a nostalgia that plays into it, but I don't understand how. Because this item never existed. And while you might have something in your imagination as to what it should be, that doesn't mean that's what it should be. And I'm a little torn, if you want the truth of it, on creators putting forth a creative concept that then meets with an immediate brick wall of fandom. And that brick wall holds them back and makes them go, okay, never mind, hold on. Throw all that away, we'll try again. I feel like when you interrupt the artistic expression, and Motu is a huge artistic expression, it's imagination, it's fantasy, it's warriors, it's sci-fi, it's barbarians, it's run amok. It can do anything. It can fit anywhere. Almost any concept exists within it and works. There's a He-Man Terminator. I mean, come on. Like, and I've done this in a lot of different videos where I've said, this is this, this is this, this is this. It amazes me that all this works in the same universe so well, and we never have to worry about it. Like, it blows my mind, and I love it that much more every time I discover something new. And then they show us something all new. Snake Lair. The only thing existing inside of it that, like, is established is some artwork stuff like the throne. And, like, there's a huge fan backlash. Now people, like, don't want it, and they're going back to the drawing board and talking about what to do. And so, like, now did we just put ourselves into a situation where now they're going to take that vehicle that they've already pretty much pieced together, and now it's going to be another Mattel Creations, where they're going to be like, hey, by the way, we're selling that vehicle that, like, nobody wanted because it was actually going to be a part of the Snake Lair, and it was going to fit on the Snake Lair and be like a part of the Snake Lair, and nobody wanted it, so here, now buy it separately. Are we ready to do that? Because we're going to have to, if you want it. I'm not saying anybody has to buy something, but you get the idea. Will it also hold off on certain concepts that I actually thought were pretty cool, like a skeleton Lady Slither? Not that it couldn't have been done better. Like, I didn't want the bones just painted on a Lady Slither, like, body or whatever, but, like, you could have taken, like, the skeleton men and kind of crafted armor, Lady Slither armor, off the skeleton warriors and kind of put one of those on there, and it would have been really cool. It was a cool concept that now I imagine is going to be tossed out. Certain other concepts, I imagine, are basically going to be left on the drawing board too. Like, like if we want this to be just your standard small Castle Grayskull-esque size playset thing, that's fine, but we are giving up a lot of different concepts. Like, they can't fit everything now if we go with that. If we go with the original concept idea, we we have to lose the snake. Okay? The snake on the door gets to stay. The drawbridge gets to stay. The prison gate thing kind of stays, but it's no longer a prison gate. It's a secondary entrance. Maybe we can have the computers on one side of it, and then the other side be Lady Slither's throne and everything like that. But like we just lost a lot of this if they slim it down. And do we want them to slim down things? Because this is another thing that I have to bring up. Are we sending a bad concept when we say, hey, right now, and it's not that I don't agree with people, we don't have money. I am right there with you right now. I am going to have to cut back quite substantially and save my money back up, okay? I'm doing that right now. I'm purposely going to places like Ollie's and stuff like that to find deals because I really can't buy stuff right now. So I'm getting real careful. I'm crossing my fingers that I don't work myself into a problem where all of a sudden I've missed a bunch of figures and it's impossible to get them. If I do. Hey, we got to save money. We got to do what we got to do to be responsible adults, right? Responsible adults with a whole bunch of toys. But like, because I have to do that, because I have to back off and save money, it is a little negative that there's going to be this big giant playset, or there was. And then we say, hey, nobody has any money, don't do this. Even though they actually did give us time to like, hey, this is coming out. You knew well in advance. You should have put $20 back here and there and there and there and knew what we were building up to. This was coming. But regardless, nobody has money. We make complaints. Make it smaller. This is not what you said. We want a smaller item that fits the Castle Grayskull criteria, and then we'll play with that. That's fine. We'd buy that. Make it smaller and charge us $100 instead of some $400 price tag or something like that. We don't want to pay this right now. Okay. If we give the message, and I hate this because I know what I'm about to say, but say we send the message, we don't want to spend money. Just like everybody argues, if you pay those stupid prices, the companies are going to know that we'll pay those stupid prices and we're not going to get anything but stupid prices. Argument valid. But I paid those stupid prices. I bought Eternia. Okay? It was a once-in-a-lifetime buy. They put it up. They said, give me $600. And I said, call me stupid, but I did it. And I'm not ashamed to have done it. I was part of a once-in-a-lifetime buy. Something that you buy into. It does cost money. It does take a commitment. It is not a simple buy. And I had to sell some things to make it happen. And I realized not everybody could do it. But that is also part of giant crowdfunding things. They are honest to God, quote unquote, honest to God, collector's items. Collector's items, just because you put collector's item on an item doesn't mean it's a collector's item. It's a mass-produced item through and through, period. If it's at retail, there's nothing collector's about it, period. I argue that. I argue it. If it is mass-produced retail, there's nothing collector's about it. It's a mass-produced item. You buy it, get what you get from it, and you don't have to justify it by claiming it's a collector's item. Honest collector's items, like items that are honestly rare, only have single production runs, you have to basically get in on the ground floor. There's not going to be another one of these, and a true collector will put it in their collection, and when people come over, they will see something that is only in your place. You're not going to be like, you're not going to, and that the other person that comes into your place can't go, oh my God, I love all this Motu stuff. Dude, this kind of makes me want to get into Motu. Then they go off to start collecting and realize, how did you get that Eternia? Like, where do they sell that? They don't. That's an honest collector's item. There are secondary markets if you would like to put your bid in, but it's going to cost real money. I got in at the ground floor. I got one. This is that. Sure, maybe that sounds elitist, but that's the nature of the game. Sometimes we do pick up honest collector's items, and sometimes we get in on the ground floor and we get items that other people are searching for and cannot find. I have Cyclops. I have the 97 Wolverine. I have the entire 97 line of figures that I wanted. I left that Magneto on the cutting room floor. The one that looks like Wrestler Magneto, I never liked that. I don't want it. I got these items. They cost real money. They're not simple items. The people that got them, okay, they only did like a wave, then they went away, and now people are having trouble getting them. Quadruple that feeling for something that comes out like this. Now, if we give the impression to the companies that we are unwilling to pay money, most of us are not right now, does that also backpedal the creations? Does that take us to a point where they pull the reins back and we now have no chance of seeing a green light for a Masterverse Castle Grayskull? It's arguable. It's truly arguable. See, we're not willing to pay for the Snake Lair. It's too much plastic. It's too much money right now. Companies see numbers, okay? They see numbers and value before they see the art and directive of a thing. The inspiration. It doesn't matter to them. They hire artists and creatives to give them products they can sell. But then they hand directives down to those creatives and they say, do it this way. This is what's going to make us money. Or get rid of this. People won't buy it. If they look at the numbers and say, hey, the Snake Lair thing, people don't want big stuff right now. Regardless of how true it is, did we just shoot ourselves in the foot for a future Masterverse Castle Grayskull? Which I still argue, the fact that we don't have it, the Masterverse line will not be complete until it has a Grayskull. Until a Castle Grayskull is on the market specifically styled for Masterverse, we will not have a complete line. The Grayskull is important to that line. It is the centerpiece, the main attraction, the final event to any line, all of Motu. Every single line I could think of has one. Every line I could think of. The Lego lines have it. The mini line has it. The Classics line got one. The original line has one. The Origins line has one. The 2000X has one. The cartoon CGI got one. These did not. They still don't have one. And there's not one in the future to any of my knowledge, even the rumors aside. And no, the Classics doesn't count. We don't have one. Now the Snake Lair happens and it gets this like backlash and it gets pushed back to the backgrounds. Did we just shoot ourselves in the foot? I don't know. I'm not making determinations here either. I'm not saying 100%. I'm telling you my mind is running in circles just like I'm sure a lot of other people right now. I don't know how I feel about this 100%. Which is one of the reasons I was kind of putting off doing the video, but I got asked and I said I may as well come in here and talk about it a little bit. And these are my thoughts on it. I don't feel like there should have ever been a nostalgia attached to this. I feel like we should have been able to look at it at face value and say this is or isn't good. Done. And it didn't have to live up to any form of expectation because it hasn't existed. It would be like asking a brand new toy line of brand new barbarian stuff to live up to an expectation on the castle that you wanted. But there's no nostalgia in the line because it's only like a 2-year new barbarian property that's out there selling on like Big Bad or something. Like a literal Kickstarter, brand new wave of figures that has never existed before. And then you come in and go, I wanted the castle to have big skulls and be like this or whatever. And, well, where does that come from? Because this thing never existed. So this was the first look at a new thing. A chance to move in new directions for the franchise. To say, here are new concepts, new ideas, new forefronts. Are they good or are they bad? And to decide with your wallet is one thing. Some people are not going to like a thing and some people are going to like a thing and some people will quote unquote shill for whatever toy thing that they love and they'll just buy everything without even thinking about it. This does happen. Some of us will not. I cherry pick Motu at a high level. There's a lot of things I like and a lot of things that I just don't care, because I was not into this as a kid and I don't have the nostalgia. And that's another question at its core, is when we were kids, did we judge the property like this? When we were kids, did we get Grayskull and be like, and I know I didn't, but I could put it to Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles was a new thing that had no property attached to it. There was nothing there. There was a comic book that all us kids had never even read before, and then the toys come out and this is what they are, and then they're like, by the way, a sewers, by the way, this weird like jet ski thing, by the way, a van, by the way, a blimp, by the way, the Technodrome. And we all like rushed to it. It was like this cool thing, just cool stuff, and we wanted it. Now the Turtles are still doing new stuff, new playsets, new things. And maybe it doesn't go over with every adult collector, but the kids are still buying Ninja Turtle toys. Ninja Turtles on skateboards and things like that. Ninja Turtles in a new sewer lair that isn't our sewer lair. Ninja Turtles with a weird flying Technodrome that's not our Technodrome. Still cool. Is it possible that Motu sits in this weird spot where the only thing it's really capable of doing is reproducing old ideas and selling the same stuff over and over and over again, and every new idea immediately gets shot down by a form of nostalgia that really even shouldn't be there because the item never existed to begin with? I don't know. It's something to consider. Is the anger unwarranted? Or is it very warranted? Because maybe you should feel betrayed by the artwork, that you thought you were getting one thing that was going to be much smaller and much more affordable, so you never expected to have to save for something that was going to be almost the size of Eternia. And where are you going to put it, right? But then again, if you're going to ask that question, could you have bought the Snake Lair in the first place? Because it's also just going to be a giant other Snake Mountain-esque thing. How many Snake Mountain, Snake Lairs, Castle Grayskulls, Eternias can you possibly put in one room? So if we're going to argue about a space problem, we have a completely different argument on our hands. These are all things to think about, and I haven't necessarily made up my mind. It is running in circles, and this is currently where I stand in my current train of thought. Something to think about. Snake Lair. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.